We bring the brooms out, Mets fans. We are here and we are live on the New York Mets post-game show here on this lovely Wednesday. What an absolute beautiful, beautiful night to be a New York Mets fan and a brutal night to be a Philadelphia Phillies fan as they are now 0 for their last 10 in their own house of horrors, and that is Citi Field. We have a ton to get into tonight. All the latest reactions and recapping this game. It's absolutely awesome. And just like we did before on the post game for game one, even before I introduce Zach onto this stream right here, Mets fans in the live chat, you know what to do and don't disappoint because this is a huge night. Spam those W's, baby. Spam those W's. Let's go. We here, baby. We here, baby. Zach, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. What a start by Nolan McLean. What a performance by the offense tonight. Just everything was showing up Mets this series and this game in particular. And I want to start by saying I was wrong. You know, we did a post-game show on Monday about who might be up next, and I was flat out wrong. Jonah Tong almost immediately gets the call. Less than 12 hours later, it's confirmed, and they call him up to be the starter for Friday. But enough about that. Nolan McLean was incredible tonight. I mean, he went from dominant against the Mariners to even more dominant against the Braves, and then even more dominant tonight against the Phillies. I mean, just each game, you know, he steps up to the task. I mean, he's gotten better and better through each start, and each time with a tougher task for him to face, a more necessary win for this Mets team if they want to make a run at this NL East division. And he lived up to all the hype. He came through for us in the biggest way and was just the best pitching performance outside of David Peterson's shutout game. And I'd say maybe even a little bit better than that, even though he didn't go the full 9. He was incredible.
First, if I'm not mistaken, Mets pitcher ever, rookie pitcher, to win his first 3 MLB starts, if the booth was correct, and that's what the booth was saying. From their words, not mine. Nolan McLean could be the first in Mets history to do that. And by the way, that is now 2 straight games against divisional opponents. Yeah. We're not talking about out of division games. We're not talking about a game against the lowly Pirates, or I mean, not the Pirates because they swept the Mets, obviously, but we're not talking about some scrub teams. The Braves are a scrub team, but meaningful baseball is what we're talking about. Down the stretch of a playoff run, Nolan McLean does not care who he faces. He will throw the kitchen sink at whatever team he goes up against, and it just seems like he has that warrior mentality up there. He was being so very efficient this start, so very efficient. And before we even get into anything else, I want to just say this. Phillies fans, where you at? Phillies fans, where you at? I need to know, where are they? Where are they? Are they listening to NBC Sports Philly and the post game over there? Because that's the first thing that I'm going to be watching. Are they listening to Broads Media? Because I'll go there second. I'm going to
maybe
be
catch a Tiny Tino video.
Tiny Tino too. I'm going to be catching all of that tonight after we are done with this post game. And I'm just going to be sitting back, having a little snack, and just smiling. Just smiling. Because all I heard from Phillies fans, were that this was such an important series for them. And it was. This was a series where they could have definitely buried the New York Mets in the NL East standings coming into this series 7 games up. They could have buried the New York Mets in front of their own home crowd. And the Mets said, no. Hold on, wait a minute. We've been playing terrible baseball, but guess what? And I said this, Zach. I forget if it was with you or Rob, but I said, It does not matter how bad the Mets have been playing, they will always show up for a series against the Phillies. And it seems like it's so evenly matched and such great games every single time. And 2 of these 3 games were not even competitive from the
No.
Phillies. They weren't even competitive. They looked like they had nothing for the New York Mets outside of that Harrison Bader game-tying home run before the Mets walked it off against Joan Duran. They had no answers, and they've had no answers at Citi Field the past 10 games. And I love it. I love it. Continue the narrative of the House of Horrors, the misery at Citi Field. And it feels good to flip the script because it's kind of like a merry-go-round. Atlanta is usually the House of Horrors for the Mets, right? And the Phillies, they have the House of Horrors at Citi Field. So the script is flipped. And that is so very lovely to see and to feel. You can just feel the energy from the crowd and from this team. Just a week ago, I had serious concerns with this Mets dugout and the energy and the urgency with this team when they dropped 2 of 3 to the Washington Nationals. I had serious concerns about it. But now we're starting to see them get their swagger back. We're starting to see them high-fiving at any given moment, whether it's Helsley in a non-competitive game in the first game of this series, getting a much-needed bounce-back start, although we know what he did yesterday, which wasn't too pleasant. It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter what happens. And we'll talk about Nolan McLean some more and really recap this game. But the other guy that we need to give a shout out to is Mark Vientos.
Mhm.
Mark Vientos, I believe that's a 10-game hit streak. He is that guy.
It-
He
Oh,
is
he's
that guy.
back.
Oh, he's back. Oh, he's
He's
back.
back.
He doesn't care. He's back. He does not care who's on the opposing mound, Zach. He is back, and he has a multi-hit game, another multi-hit game, and he sent one into orbit in the later stages of this game to make it 6-0 at that point. But for the majority of this game, outside of the last 2 innings, it was 12 hits to 2 in favor of the New York Mets. And I'm so very happy from an offensive perspective that they went out there and took care of business against the Phillies' best 2 pitchers now that Zach Wheeler's out of their rotation. Unfortunately for them, and unfortunately for baseball, because everyone wants to watch a talent like Zach Wheeler and how good he is. So I will say that. But now their pitchers need to step up. And those names are Ranger Suarez, Christopher Sanchez, and Jesus Luzardo. And it didn't really matter, again, who the Phillies threw out there, whether it was the bullpen guys or the starters, the Mets offense. This when you know the Mets offense is doing what they're doing and at their peak is when they are hitting really talented pitching and they're making it look very easy. That last inning to walk it off against Joan Duran, who's throwing 102 miles per hour, 103 miles per hour, and he can't even get an out. That's when you know this offense is clicking on all cylinders. So huge shout out to not only the entire offense, but for me, Mark Vientos specifically. But we need to talk about Nolan McLean some more because he was so very efficient in this outing. He was utilizing a very good mix of pitches because we know he has 5+ pitches at his belt to throw at any time. And they were talking about it in the booth, right? This is why Nolan McLean is such a talent, and he will be for a very long time. This is why. I believe Ron was saying it on the booth, if I'm not mistaken. When you have a pitcher this young and this early on into his career that has 5 different pitches that he decides and can utilize on any given start at 10% plus, a 10% plus clip, that is golden. That is what you want to see and have to keep hitters off balance. And his last 2 starts comprise of 15 innings. Very efficient. We were at a point in the 5th inning where he was at the 45 pitch mark.
Yeah.
That's absolutely insane. You see the final line here for Nolan McLean, 8 innings pitched, no earned runs given up. 93 pitches, 4 hits allowed, 6 strikeouts, and no walks. He has not allowed a single walk in the last 2 outings as well, which is also equally as important. And before I stop ranting and I give you the floor, Zach, because I do apologize, I'm going on a little bit of a rant here because this is just absolutely tremendous. My favorite thing about Nolan McLean tonight was not what he was doing up until, the 5th inning and the efficiency and whatever. That wasn't my favorite thing. My favorite thing to see was when he got into trouble in the last inning, right? I believe they had corners with 1 out.
Yeah.
And he induces a pop-up, 2 pop-ups to end the inning. That is what you want to see
0
from a
outs.
rookie pitcher. 0 runs, reaching into his back pocket and finishing what he started.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love to see, Zach. That's what I love to see.
Yeah, that was an impressive inning there for Nolan McLean. I mean, you said it was 1 out. It was actually 0 outs. They had the corners with no outs, if I'm not mistaken. And he got the 2 pop-ups, one by Castellanos, one by, I'm not sure who was following. Maybe it was Bohm. No, I think Bohm got a hit. But regardless, he got 2 pop-ups, and then the final, the out in the inning, I think it was a ground ball, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was a ground ball, too. I think he picked up himself. But just what he was able to do, I mean, he has 5 pitches that he threw, like you said, 10% of the time that were all effective. I mean, getting into more advanced analytics, he had 4 pitches all at a pro stuff plus above 100. He had the other 2, the cutter, or I guess the slider. I don't know. They're classifying as a cutter. I thought it was more of a slider. Anyways, and the changeup, 97 and 99. That's 6 pitches that he's throwing at worst average, comparatively to the rest of the league. And then 4 that he's throwing above average or considered elite, like the curveball is. This kid is special. You do not see really any pitcher come into the league with this many developed pitches, let alone a pitcher that is in his first full season as a pitcher and a starter, too. He was a reliever in college. He started out as a reliever in the minors. This is insane. I mean, and aside from everything else he did tonight, he only had 6 strikeouts, but a lot of weak contact. He had these Phillies hitters off balance all night. Pitch in, pitch out. They didn't know what to do. I think he allowed like 2 or 3 hard hit balls against him that were outs. And I think 1 was a single. And that's it. He was just limiting hard contact, playing to his defense, missing barrels, missing bats, and just dominant. Like we haven't seen it's basically since Jacob deGrom has been here. We haven't seen a start like that in a pretty long time. So that was special. That was special to see tonight, and we are going to continue to see more and more of that as time goes on with Nolan McLean here and as the other kids come up to join him, starting with Jonah Tong on Friday. But enough about McLean. We're going to be talking about him a lot because I expect him to be a pivotal cog in this rotation down the stretch leading into the postseason. But the offense, like you said, was great tonight. Mark Vientos was awesome again. And I think it was 3 RBIs. He had the RBI single earlier in the game. It was a 2-run home run. I mean, he's back. He's back. And I mean, we've been talking about so much over the season how the Mets need a bridge to the lower part of the order. We have it now. It's Mark Vientos. Mark Vientos has arrived, and he is that bridge. Doesn't matter if he's batting cleanup, bridging it to Nimmo in the 5-hole or the 6-hole. Doesn't matter if he's batting at the 5-hole and it's Nimmo or it's Marte behind him or McNeil. He's that bridge. He's able to drive in the runs that he's able to drive in the batters that are ahead of him, like Pete Alonso when they pitch around him, like Soto when they pitch around him, whomever else when they get on. We haven't had that all season. At the beginning stages of the season, we've had Lindor, Soto, and Alonso getting on base and no one behind them to drive them in. We have that now. And that just lengthens the lineup even more. And it's going to be dangerous down the stretch. I mean, obviously, we got through a tough stretch here. We were with the Mariners, then the Braves, and the Phillies. We played 9 games over the past 2 weeks. We get an easier 4-game set against the Marlins before we do go on the road to Detroit. And what a perfect time to get hot. You're going against what you think to be a lower level team in the Marlins. Hopefully you can win a series, 3 out of 4, maybe even sweep a homestand first time in a while, and carry that into a Detroit series, which will be pivotal. This is a damn good team in Detroit. You can win a series or at least go in there and play some damn good baseball. If you don't win the series, so be it. You know you're right there, and you can get some distance from the Reds. You can gain some ground on the Phillies. With this 4-game series coming up, if you can win all of them or at least win 3, you can gain at least a half game because I believe the Phillies have a 3-game series coming up. So this is an important time to get hot, especially with a team like the Phillies not playing their best baseball against you guys, against this Mets team, and losing their best player in Zach Wheeler.
You think like how much momentum do you think the Phillies have lost, knowing that their ace is now out for the remainder of the season? And since getting that news, they get swept by the team that they should have buried, that is looking up at them in the rear view mirror. What do you think this type of sweep does to the Phillies? Because let's be honest and let's give credit where credit's due. The Phillies are still a damn good team,
Oh,
and they're
100%.
going to fight until the very end, right? They got a 3-game set coming up, I believe, in Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Do
And
they have
the Mets
tomorrow off?
have, I don't think so, unless I'm
No,
not,
they don't.
they don't.
No, they don't.
So,
It's a 4-game. It is 4 games. I thought they had a game off before the Brewers. So no, they also have a 4-game set at
so both
home
4
against
game
Atlanta.
sets. Well, but what do you think their mindset is, though? Where do you think their head's at? Like, you know what I mean?
So I don't necessarily attribute it just to the Wheeler injury. When was it officially announced? Was it earlier this week?
I believe it was
Was it?
right before this series kicked off,
It
but it was
was
definitely
right before
earlier
this.
this week, a couple days ago.
But I think we got news about the blood clot a couple weeks ago. So you
Yes.
didn't. I think right then and there we knew he was done for the year, right? With the blood clot, I think that was it was determined. I think
Yeah.
it. I think it's less so that Wheeler got injured and he's missing the season. More so the fact that you come into a pivotal series where if they go and win this series in Flushing against the Mets, they kill any chances of the Mets, coming back on them. If they win 1 game, they make it that much more difficult because now we're 4 games, not 6 games. If we lost tonight, it would have been 6 games back, and that's tough. That's tough, especially when you have a tough schedule like the Mets do. So to be only 4 games back is big. So I think to come into a series like this with your top pitcher down, with probably your best player down, in Zach Wheeler, and to lose him for the season and maybe even next season, I mean, I think that kind of took the wind out of their sails. But I think it was more so just losing in the fashion they did with their 2 best pitchers in Ranger Suarez and Jesus Luzardo, just kind of just doing nothing. They sucked. They were not good against the Mets. To have both of them get shelled like they did, does not make you feel good. Especially now, the Braves. The Braves are not good this year, but the Braves are still the Braves. They still have Matt Olson. They still have Ronald Acuna. They still have. I know Sean Murphy hasn't been good, but Sean Murphy I still attribute to being a pretty solid baseball player. Ozzie Albies, Michael Harris got off to a red hot start in the second half. There's still baseball players on this team that can do damage. You expect to win a 4-game series against the Braves. I mean, even though you are going to be home, I think again, I mean, they're going to probably take one unless they absolutely blow it. And especially coming off a series like this, all the wind is taken out of your sails. And, given the reaction from some of these Phillies fans, they get down early against the Braves team tomorrow. Get ready for some boos to be raining down on them.
Yeah, absolutely. And the same thing could be said for the Mets with the Marlins coming into town. I mean, the Marlins are always pesky,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just how it goes. So you have to take care of business against the inferior opponents, which is something that the Mets have struggled with perpetually, not only this season, but in seasons prior as well. And hopefully that changes. And hopefully this is the new look team, especially with the addition recently of Nolan McLean and upcoming on Friday night of Jonah Tong. Hopefully that revitalizes this pitching staff and the offense is able to keep pace, because I always say this about baseball, and the same thing could be really said about football too. We've seen it time and time again, countless of years now. The teams that make it farther into the playoffs are usually the teams that get hot right around this time. Like, this is when they start playing their best brand of baseball. And if that's something, and the same thing, the 2024 New York Mets, we saw it on a both team basis and an individual basis as well. They started playing good baseball around this time, and they carried it over into September, and they made a run. And we all know how that season ended. Unfortunately, it wasn't with the aspirations that, every team wants and has to set out for as the World Series, but a still pretty damn good season nonetheless, with minimal expectations in that season ending in the NLCS against the Dodgers. So, you take it one day at a time, but since by my calculation, it's still August 27th, and we have a couple of hours left before the clock strikes midnight. We're going to be celebrating this damn sweep all night long, and that's what we are here to do. So I haven't even said this. We're 21 minutes into the stream. Please, if you are here, we've got 200 plus people in the chat, but from X and YouTube. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons on this channel, please. It means the world. We appreciate you all hanging out with us after this electric victory. And y'all are the best. You all are the best. You all are what makes this channel go and makes us come on here and talk about the Mets, because we don't want to be just talking with ourselves, although I'm sure we would do it because this is what this team makes us do. But we want to talk to you all and get a feel for what you all are feeling as well with this team, whether it's good or it's bad. So keep dropping those comments in the live chat as well. And as always, follow Zach on X. Really good Mets tweets and keeping you updated on the latest of this team. It's at Sunny Days Zach. You can find him over there on that platform. Okay. I'm so hyped right now. Like, I don't even know where to take this stream. I guess I should take it into the comments here and kind of be a little bit interactive here.
Before we get there, we do have a little bit of negative news.
Unfortunately, yeah.
We do have some negative news. There's no update, but tonight, Francisco Alvarez, in his rehab start, was hit on the left hand and taken immediately out of the game. I did see a video. He did seem killed over in pain. There was no indication of what it could possibly be. It's a AAA minor league baseball stream, so who knows, or broadcast rather. But hopefully it's nothing serious. Hopefully we see him in there tomorrow DHing. Hopefully it was just a precautionary thing. They weren't playing with it. Get X-rays, see if he'll be fine tomorrow. But can't catch a break. Thankfully, it is the left hand. It's not the hand he was dealing with an injury with, but still, nonetheless, you don't want to see any type of pitches or balls coming near those hands when you're hitting, because there's small bones in there. One bad day and you're out for a couple months. So this is not the best of news, but we're making do right now. Vientos is getting hot at the right time. Beatty's hot at the right time. So there's always,
I was on mute. I was going to say, I know I was on mute, man. I mean, it happens. It gets the best of us every now and again. Mm-hmm. I know Sanger is no Francisco Alvarez, but listen, Sanger is actually swinging a pretty competent bat right now. I mean, I've been pretty impressed ever since that Nationals series. Yeah, and Terrence is doing okay too. The defense, you get the defense with these two guys as well. And something has to go Alvarez's way with these hand injuries at one point, and he has to go just a long stretch of time, hopefully the rest of his career after these injuries are all said and done, without having to suffer through another hand injury, because it just seems like, he suffers the injury, comes back, struggles a little bit, finally finds his footing. And the last go around was needing to send him down to AAA and have him come back up. And he starts raking. And he starts performing really well, both defensively and then offensively. And then something just whether it's a slide or a foul tip or whatever have you happens, that's unfortunate and untimely, and it just derails his season. So, I mean, we don't know the news on Francisco Alvarez at this point. He got hit straight in the hand. No, it wasn't the same hand. It was the opposite hand of what his thumb injury is that he's dealing with and trying to rehab and come back from. But it also begs the question, if that didn't happen and he's going through this rehab assignment, the splint is going to be on his thumb no matter what. So is he going to be catching? Is he going to be coming back and doing the DHing duties? Like, how do you rework him into this team? And that was the biggest question that I had when I started to hear him, taking aggressive swings in batting practice and gearing up towards a rehab assignment. That was
He
my
did.
first question.
He did catch tonight, and 8 minutes ago during the press conference, Mendoza said he got hit on the left pinky finger, currently being evaluated. So we're going to be it's going to be very ambiguous until we get definitive news. Well, my guess is there'll either be no update and we see him in the lineup, either tomorrow or Friday, or there's an update and Alvarez is done for the season. There's probably no in between, unless it's just like a bone bruise and he has to miss a few days. But my guess it's probably one or the other. Usually you don't get usually it's either nothing or something, with these hand injuries. So really no in between. But he did catch tonight, so he was catching and throwing the baseball with the splint. So hopefully, if he does avoid an injury here with this recent hit by pitch, he can continue to throw the ball and be effective behind the plate, and no ill effects there, and no ill effects at the dish. He did have a double tonight, so clearly, he was able to swing a good bat, but it's just a matter of if he can stay out there. And I know I see a lot of people in the comments. They've been talking about how Alvarez has been injury prone. You mentioned it. I mean, these hand injuries. Yes, the one sliding into the base, and I think there was another one when he was swinging the bat and he kind of hit it off the narrow end, closer to the handle as opposed to the barrel, and those vibrations caused the break. And I think it was the hamate bone. But when you get hit in the hand, that's not an injury prone thing. Any hitter gets hit in the hand. It's a 50-50 shot. You're either breaking something or you're not. I mean, it's not, that's not an injury prone thing. Soft tissue or these ligament issues, that maybe yes, but the broken bones and in your hand where you got all these small bones, it's gonna happen to anyone, if you get hit there. So I'm not worried about this in the sense where this could be a recurring thing. I'm more worried about it. Well, just because I want Francisco Alvarez back this season with how good he was over the past 3 weeks was before he had to go hit the IL. So we'll see. Hopefully things work out. Hopefully we get some good news, because we haven't gotten much good news from Mets lanes with these injuries this season. So hopefully this is a bit of good news for us.
Yeah, it's been absolutely brutal. I really hope he's okay and he can continue that rehab assignment. But at this point, I think a big concern also from us as fans and also this organization should be just protecting the future of his career as well, and not trying to rush him back if he doesn't need to be rushed back. I mean, this guy is a warrior. He wants to come back. He said it multiple times, and he's fought through a lot of injuries. But at some point, you have to let it fully heal and just hope that something like a fluke injury and these 50-50 injuries, like you were saying, just don't happen more frequently again whenever he does come back. So, if you're a part of this post game right now, and if you missed part of the game and kind of want a little bit of a recap, I mean, it was the Nolan McLean show and then the Mets offense getting to Taijuan Walker early. The Mets did score 3 runs in the bottom of the third, thanks to a Lindor single, a Soto single, and an Alonso single. And at that point, Nolan McLean, we started to see, okay, he's got it. Maybe he can go deep into a ball game again. He's being very efficient, and that's exactly what he did in the long haul. The Mets would add another run to make it 4-0 in the bottom of the fifth, thanks to a Mark Vientos single to center field, which scored Pete Alonso, and then Vientos comes back up in the bottom of the seventh and homers. I mean, it was a moonshot, 427 feet that scored himself and Nimmo to make it 6-0. Nolan McLean goes 8 innings, hands the ball off to Brooks Raley, who gets the job done in the top of the ninth. I love this. I love these types of post games where I like yesterday's types of post games because it's a little bit more challenging for me to not put a damper on an electric walk-off victory. But I also had to take a portion of yesterday's post game stream and talk about the ill-advised decision to put Ryan Helsley in a situation where the Phillies could go back and tie the game because he looked absolutely brutal. But guess what? If you have a starting pitcher going out there and doing what McLean did tonight, Mendoza doesn't even have to make that decision. His decision is made very easily. And I love it. I love it. And it really does seem like Mendoza entrusts in McLean. He didn't really get the bullpen up and warming until the Phillies had first and third, nobody out in that eighth inning. And only then he got Brooks Raley warming, but was still giving McLean the chance to fight his own way out of that jam. And we saw he got 3 straight outs and stranded Bohm at third base. So I absolutely love it. Couple of comments that I want to highlight here in the chat as I've been reading. You all are doing a great job. Please continue to comment in the live chat section. But first of all, this is, I mean,
Wow.
what can you say about this? Philly has lost 24 of the last 30 at Citi Field, including this 10 in a row stretch. That's like an eye-opening statistic at this point. That's an eye-opening statistic. And we will see the Phillies again, but at their own place for a 4-game set, if I'm not mistaken. So hopefully the script doesn't flip on the Mets. But this is something where and this is a testament to the home crowd too. I mean, listen, if you think the Mets players weren't feeding off of the energy of the home crowd, you're absolutely mistaken, because Citi Field, when this team is in this spot, they're playoff contenders. That stadium is rocking. They show out for this team. And that's a testament to how loyal and just great, even given the brutal stretch that the Mets had, over the past couple of months, how invested this fan base is into this team, just as we are right here talking about them after the game throughout the season. Cindy's saying this: best part of this sweep with tonight's win, Mets also take the season series and the tiebreaker from the Philadelphia Phillies, no matter what happens in Philly. And that has divisional implications, obviously. So that's also a really good aspect to hone in on. And also, not only with the Phillies, just like, correct, but with another, it will play out if the Mets, let's just say, because the division's right there. I mean, the Mets are in the rearview mirror. The division is not insurmountable by any stretch of the imagination, even though the total games remaining are dwindling. But if the Mets are held to the wild card with the Reds right there, the Reds are coming up on the Mets schedule as well. And at this point, with the Reds taking 2 of 3 earlier this season in Citi Field, they currently have the tiebreaker over the Mets. So that's something where you have to circle your calendar in Cincinnati and be like, all right, we need to return the favor, and in a major way. What is the tiebreaker? If you go even split 3-3, what's the deciding factor?
I think it's run differential between the two
That's
teams.
what I thought.
So the Mets would have to score at least 6 runs to at least tie that run differential, because the Reds scored 6 more runs than them in that series. So, I don't know what comes after run differential, but I do believe that is the tiebreaker for the tiebreaker. So, we'll see.
So too.
Then, I mean, obviously, you got San Diego at home later in the season. If that comes to play, the Mets got swept in San Diego, so it would take a sweep and then outscoring, that run differential, which is highly unlikely given, it's tough to sweep a team. You can't always expect sweeps. But if this team stays hot, you never know. And then the Cubs, they do play Chicago in September, and they beat them. They win 2 games out of the 3 games at Citi Field. So if they win 2 in Chicago, they will own the tiebreaker.
I don't know how you feel about this, and I said this on the post game last night. I usually subscribe to the theory of, and I still do, I don't care if you win a division or the wild card, just get in and see what happens. But I will say, with how the NL West is shaking out currently, the one team that I don't want to play the first round is the San Diego Padres. I do not want to play them. What do you think about that? Because that's just a team that I feel like perpetually just gives, for some reason, the Mets a very hard time in both the playoffs, as we saw in 2022, but also the regular season. So, and no matter who is on their staff is usually very competent and up to the task against the Mets lineup, right? So that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, I think that's honestly one of the best teams. I think if I had to say, that would be the team I'm most afraid of if I'm the New York Mets, as a New York Mets fan. The Dodgers, I think, have shown signs of cracks this season. I mean, Mookie Betts, I guess a lot of that is attributed to the foot injury. I don't know what he's looking like now. I know it has not looked now. He's not looking good, really. 249, 14 home runs, 59 RBIs. So He's having a pretty big down season. Obviously, he does have the broken bone in his foot. I think it's the same bone that Lindor broke. But Lindor, I think they're about the same age. Lindor is, getting hot again. Clearly after what is about a 2-month recovery, he has recovered and is playing back to what you expect Lindor to. I don't think Mookie Betts is doing that. Freddie Freeman was having a good season. I don't think he's having an amazing season. And obviously, Shohei Ohtani is Shohei Ohtani, but it took him a bit to get it going. And then obviously, the the pitching staff is just in shambles over there in LA. I mean, everyone is hurt. I mean, Yamamoto is the only one that's healthy, and even guys that are healthy like Roki Sasaki, he's been an utter train wreck for them. I mean, that thank God the Mets didn't win the Roki Sasaki sweepstakes, because that would have been
so far at least
so far. But I mean, it looks bad. I mean, it's not even like you can point to some things and be like, oh, he still got the fastball. No, the velocity's dipped a lot. It's dipped at least 3 miles per hour. And I think in his first rehab start, it was down as low as 92 miles an hour. So that's a team I'm not really afraid of. They honestly could have won all 7 games against that LA team. They blew 3 games. The Mets won 4 games and lost, and the Mets won 4 games and lost 3. The Dodgers didn't win a single game in that series. The Mets lost those games for them. The Mets handed them.
Agree.
On a silver platter. So that's a team that I'm not afraid of as a Mets fan. I'm afraid of the Padres and the Phillies. You just can't be. And the Cubs to a degree, but the Cubs have not been as good as of late. They haven't been really good over the last month or so, maybe 3 weeks.
I don't buy into the Cubs. They don't move me. They don't move me.
And one thing I did want to mention, some interesting things to note. You did bring up the comment. Was it Cindy who brought up about the tiebreaker with the Mets and the Phillies? One thing to mention, over the last, I think it's 11 plate appearance with Juan Soto as with runners in scoring position, he has, I believe, no outs, a home run, 3 singles, and a bunch of walks, something along those lines. So, the whole runners in scoring position narrative is starting to turn. Obviously this team as a whole has been better with runners in scoring position, but Juan Soto doing his part over the last 11 at bats with runners in scoring position. And we just need more of that. We need more of him at the 2 hole, not grounding into double plays, or grounding out, not being able, I would even take outs that can advance the runner. If you're hitting a ground ball with a man on second to the right side and getting into third, I'm happy with that, given the situation, depending on the situation. Sack flies, always great. Always take a sack fly. Obviously, he does his thing. He gets walks and singles and home runs. We need more extra base hits with him, with men in scoring position. That's the one big thing we haven't gotten all season from him. No 3-run home runs either.
Soto is starting to hit with runners in scoring position. I know it's a very small sample. Don't look at the overall numbers with runners in scoring position this season because they are still very below average, but he's starting to turn it around, and that's the biggest thing. And this Mets team is starting to turn it around with runners in scoring position as well. And that is, it doesn't matter who it is. And by the way, a guy that we haven't really talked about on this post-game stream just yet, he had himself a hell of a series, including a walk-off win, is Brandon Nimmo. Brandon Nimmo had himself a really, really good series.
Great.
3 for 4 today. 3 for 4 today. Walk-off hit yesterday. And, the Mets and Mendoza have been putting him lower in the lineup outside of this game right here where they drop Marte with the righty on the mound and Nimmo goes up to the cleanup spot behind Alonso. But, we always talked about who was the glue guy to get this Mets offense going. It was Vientos. It was always Vientos. Now, I'm not sure if there's another level to this offense, but if there is another level to this offense, Brandon Nimmo has everything to do with it. He also needs to get it going in a major way. And I've liked the types of swings and I've liked the approach that he has taken to the plate as of recent. Now, are we going to get this consistency out of Brandon Nimmo? Because we haven't for the large majority of this season. That's anyone's guess. But I think that's the next guy that needs to get hot for this lineup, a lineup that is already scorching hot and is just, I believe they've been the best offense over the past couple of weeks in the MLB in terms of putting up runs and the runs that they're putting up. So it's we see it every day. And
Oh, yeah.
then there it goes on the silver platter. That's the rankings right there. As the Mets offense is showing that they are top dogs in the MLB. And Brett Beatty, I mean, your guy Brett Beatty, man, how far have we come from the Brett Beatty discussions that we were having earlier this season, going back to the offseason, etc. Brett Beatty continues to have a really good month. He's hitting the ball to all fields. It doesn't really matter. He has another multi-hit game with a run scored today. It's just good offense, man. I don't even know what to say. The types of at-bats that I'm seeing from this team and the approach, because the end result is the end result. You can hit a ball in the screws and you can get robbed, just like I guess Harrison Bader did, but Lindor did too. I mean, he hit a ball off the wall and Bader made a nice play today, throw him out of second base, whatever. It still counts as a hit in the books, but I'm talking about hitting it right at somebody, right? That you can't control that. But what you can control as a hitter, and that's something that we've been seeing as of recent from this lineup that we did not see when they were struggling earlier this season, is the aggressiveness at the plate. I saw Brett Beatty last night before he dunked a single into left field to set up bases loaded and set up the walk-off. That was his first at bat of the game. He's going up against a pitcher that is very talented, all-star, throws 103, but also has a 99-mile-per-hour splitter for a 5-mile-an-hour differential. Like,
It's
that's crazy
insane.
to come off the bench. That's insane to face to begin with if you're in a starting lineup, but to come off the bench cold as a defensive replacement and your turn in the order comes up because Helsley blew the game at that point, that is a very tough ask. You want to know what he did? This was my favorite part of that inning besides the walk-off. My favorite part was 3-1. Brett Beatty was still taking an aggressive swing. He wasn't even looking for the walk. He was looking for the walk-off hit himself. And that's the type of aggressiveness I really hope that carries over, right?
Yeah.
Into the next month and beyond, because it's situational. Like, situational hitting is clearly a part of the game, but that's why I've never really subscribed to the I guess philosophy of you gotta take the first pitch, or you work a count always. If you are up there, if you're Jeff McNeil, who is having a really good time at the plate, maybe outside of today, right, but has been swinging a really good bat, Brett Beatty, whoever it is, Mark Vientos, if you're getting a fastball first pitch, if you're getting a fastball right down the middle 3-1, take a swing. Take a swing. I don't care. If you pop out, you pop out. If you swing and miss, you swing and miss. That's fine. But it's the approach that I'm starting to love with this offense. And
Mhm.
that is something that has really opened my eyes.
It's been great to see that, and not only that, he worked like you said, he worked a long count too. I mean, to battle there in that at bat against Johan Duran, pulled off the bench, not just get blown away by three fastballs in a row is impressive. This is someone that's tough to hit after being at the plate all night and having a good night, let alone coming off the bench, like you said, cold. Everyone is showing up at the right time. I mean, Alonso has been kind of hit or miss this month, but over the last, I think, 2 games now, these last 2 games, he has like 5 hits, if I'm not mistaken. He's playing much better as of much more recent. And if they can continue this consistency, because it's not always going to be 6 runs, it's not always going to be 13 runs, but if you can keep up the consistency, getting on base, and another night with a great average with runners in scoring position. They went 5 for 8, which is off the top of my head, 600 average or something with runners in scoring position. You can keep up that consistency, obviously not to that standard, but 300 average with runners in scoring position, 250. I'm comfortable with that because given what this team is, you're gonna have the base paths clogged. You're gonna have guys on base via the hit, via the walk, via the hit by pitch. This team gets hit by pitches almost, I think, more than any other team in the major league. So this is a team that constantly gets on base. So if you can just be more consistent, the runners in scoring position and the runners on base in general, you are going to be in a great position. You're going to have these pitchers pitching more comfortably, and you're just going to feel more comfortable at the plate where you don't feel like you have to be the one that gets the job done. If you get into some bad luck and it goes somewhere, you strike out or you hit you get under something and pop it up. You got a dog behind you that's going to pick you up, drive in that run. Next time around, you can be the guys driving in the run. So this team, if they can continue to get this consistency from the big guys and Brett Beatty, who I don't think is considered one of the big guns yet, but is starting to gain that faith, that respect by Mets fans and Mets brass alike, considering he's been playing almost every day over the past 6 weeks, I'd say. It's basically since the All-Star break or trade deadline. It's going to be great for the Mets because I thought at the beginning of the season we talked about how this team's going to have a murderer's row of hitters, that you're not going to have a break basically 1 through 9. Obviously we didn't know 100% what we get out of Alvarez or some other guys like McNeil. They've been, McNeil's been great this season. Alvarez was hit or miss, was great as of late, got injured, but Vientos got off to the rough start. Soto's off to a rough start. Brandon Nimmo off to the rough start. So without those guys there to produce, you didn't have what you thought you were coming in the season. We're finally getting to see that, which is the perfect time. Perfect time of any.
That's a good point too when you're talking about the personnel in this lineup. And I mentioned Tyrone Taylor last night because last year Tyrone Taylor won the starting job over Harrison Bader full time because he started to hit more. Yeah, but he started to hit more consistently in September. Last year, September was Tyrone Taylor's best month at the plate with a 283 average. He was very competent in the bottom of the order. And that's something that we're starting to see with the Mets offense is the bottom of the order is producing alongside the top of the order. So they're starting to get to that point where there are minimal breaks in this lineup, right? Mm-hmm. So that begs the question. This is a good point. We haven't seen Cedric Mullins for a little bit. How do you work him back in if Tyrone Taylor is swinging the bat like this? We did see one game recently, I believe it was in Atlanta, where both of the guys got the start in the same game. But I think that this is going to hinder, if Tyrone Taylor keeps this up, I think that's going to hinder Cedric Mullins' playing time immensely. That's just my personal
opinion. If who'd you mention? I'm sorry. Marte?
No, Taylor versus Mullins.
Well, and then you have Marte in the mix too. If Marte continues to play like he has, obviously went over 4 tonight, but if he continues to play like he has, how can you not want to get him in there at DH every night? Sacrifice the defense, throw McNeil in center field, and then have Vientos at third base, and then you reposition for defensive capabilities in the later innings. I mean, they have options now. This isn't just like we're throwing in Vientos there while he's in the middle of a huge slump, and we basically don't have any other options. Or we're throwing in Beatty because Vientos is injured and Beatty hasn't been living up to the hype. Tyrone Taylor is our center fielder. Siri went down. Tyrone Taylor's been awful, over the past few months. They have options. They don't have to just go with guys because that's all they have, or that's their best option. They have different ways they can go. And I guess the one dead hole in this lineup would be the catcher position. But Torrens and Sanger are hitting. Obviously we'll see if they can continue that up on a more consistent basis. They hit as over the past few games. But if this is what we're going to get for the rest of the season, and what we expected coming into the season, I'd watch out rest of the league.
Yeah, and that's also something alongside the Alvarez injury news. We didn't really touch on this, and we also touched upon this in the last stream that we did together, and maybe some guys that maybe we wanted to see, maybe we didn't want to see come back. But Winker and Siri, by the way, have also started their rehab assignments in Port St. Lucie A-ball. So that is like I don't know, with the amount of guys that are starting rehab assignments, both from the pitching and the offensive side, coupled with the fact that you have prospects that are doing well and are vying for a spot with September call-ups. I do not envy the position of David Stearns. I'm positive, though, if Winker and Siri, either of them, are ready to go, I promise you, he's gonna prioritize the veteran bat. I almost guarantee it.
I'll promise this to you: Mauricio's going down. Mauricio
Yes.
is not going to be here. He's not going to have a September spot on this team. He's not going to have a postseason spot on this team. Mauricio's going. Mauricio will not be on this team for the rest of the season. You know, he hasn't played.
Brazaban won't either, by the way. Brazaban is
Is
his.
that confirmed? I saw it was
He got
a.
sent down. I'm pretty sure he got sent down officially.
Well, he's going for an MRI, and they was the decision
It was
whether it was
clean.
IL. It was clean. I didn't
Yeah, it was
see that.
clean.
Okay.
It was
So
clean, and then they
Brazaban.
optioned him. So
Well, Brazaban still can pitch in the postseason, right? Because he's played enough games, or does he have to be?
well, that goes back to discussion. I don't think we ever found the answer if it's the amount of games that you appear in for the Mets, or if you have to be on the actual roster. I think it's a game basis because
or if you're on the
there's
roster.
or if you're on the roster, right? I think that's the case. If you yeah.
I'm
Or we're
gonna
talking
look
about
this up
40-man
right now.
roster because if it's 28 man, that doesn't really make sense. If there's an emergency situation that happens, like I don't know. That's something that we probably should find the answer to because I definitely like don't know that, and I will admit
In a
that I don't know
typical
that.
season, any player who's on the 40-man roster or 60-day injured list as of 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard on August 31st is eligible for the postseason. This is right from
So there you go.
MLB's website. So it's 40-man roster. I did see a tweet earlier that mentioned something about the 20, I guess it's 26-man roster now, but I don't know. I don't know. That's right from the MLB's website, so I'm going to go ahead and say that no, that's the correct answer. It's 40-man roster, which Brazaban is, which Winker and Siri both qualify for that, considering they're on the 60-day IL. I'm trying to think. Mauricio is on the 40-man, so he will qualify. I do not know who else is, if anyone in the minors.
Let's look at who's on a 40-man roster. 40-man. This is curious to me now. Because Brosbon has options. I mean, he's got two options. They just used one, so he's got one more.
Is Alex Ramirez still on the 40-man?
No, there's no chance he is. Is he? No.
No,
He's not even in the
he
organization
was for like
anymore.
2 seasons.
I don't think he's in the organization.
I thought they did re-sign him. Jared Young is on the 40-man.
Don't even go there. Don't even go there. But the Brazabon news, I mean, that opens the door for Brandon Sproat. I mean, theoretically, right? Or McGill, but I'd like to have it be Brandon Sproat.
The question is who's going to be off the 40-man come Jonathan? My guess is we probably option or probably just straight up DFA Brandon Waddell or
Ty Adcock.
Maybe him, but I thought he was solid. And he's a little bit younger. Brandon Waddell is 3 years older. My guess is it's Waddell.
It could be. I mean, it could be. I think it's a moot point at that point. I mean,
at that point, regardless, Ty Adcock or Brandon Waddell, they're not going to be seeing any postseason time, and if they do, something terrible happens.
Looking at this 40-man, it's funny because I literally just I'm seeing a name that I haven't thought about since like the off season. Nick Madrigal, IL 60s on the 40-man.
If you're on the 40-man, okay, so Nick Madrigal. I mean, Ronnie Mauricio, you can't be moved off the 40-man. So the Mets are in a pickle. They really don't have any position player they can straight up move off the 40-man outside of Jared Young to get like a Ryan Clifford up here. I guess you could DFA another pitcher, or you could drop another pitcher. Does there have to be a 20-20 balance between position players and pitchers?
I don't know about that. I know it has to be 14-14 for the 28, but
yeah, so that'll be interesting to see. But I guess the only one of the young hitters that are doing well right now in AAA is Ryan Clifford. Jeff Williams and Benj have been a bit slow to start. Obviously, Benj was hurt for a couple days.
Yeah. So. The one thing also before we sign out of here is, first of all, game tomorrow. I mean, again, continuing the
7-10.
consecutive games that the Mets have.
16 in a row.
16 is crazy, man. It's crazy. It's going to be game one with the Marlins coming to town. Clay Holmes versus, yes, you are reading that correctly, Jansen Junk.
If I'm not mistaken, he had a really good start. Right earlier in the season.
I mean, against the Mets or just in general?
No, against the Mets, just the usual.
Well, that would line up perfectly with what the Mets do against no-namers.
Yeah.
Named junk, no less.
Yeah, of course, right?
But listen, I mean, that's a series that we'll get into. We won't bore you all with the conversation about the Marlins series coming up. That's going to be a conversation for tomorrow. But the other aspect before we sign out of here that I really want people to understand of why the Mets were also very successful this series is that two guys in Kyle Schwarber and JT Realmuto in their top five were held to offers this entire series. Offers. That's impressive. You also keep that team in the ballpark. I mean, how many home runs did they hit? I know Harrison Bader hit a home run. Did they hit a home run in game one?
I think that's
I don't think
it.
so. So you
Trey
one home
Turner
run.
only had 3 hits too. I mean, he was 3 for 14, so that they held their big hitters to nothing essentially.
Right. And the biggest thing also of that with all of, I guess, maybe outside of Senga, although we also saw it a little bit from Senga before he exited the ball game in that very short outing in game one, is that they used that aggressive approach from the Phillies that usually also that's usually why they hit home runs because they're so aggressive, but they utilize that approach and turn it right back over. And that's the reason why that Phillies team struggled because they could not lay off of balls out of the zone. They could not. There was a ton of swing and miss on pitches out of the zone from each of the Mets pitchers, especially Sean Manaea and Nolan McLean, who combined for 14 strikeouts in their outings over the past two nights.
Yeah.
That is phenomenal. That is a good mindset. That is a good strategy from the pitchers, from the catchers, from Jeremy Hefner, whoever you want to credit. That is a really good thing to see. And not every team is going to be like that. You're going to encounter a lot more disciplined teams, like the Brewers. They're complete 180. The Brewers are a very disciplined team, and they are not the Phillies. Two different play styles, especially offensively. And that's why the Brewers are the best team in baseball right now, because they are very disciplined. But that's the one point that I wanted to make, and that I was watching very closely from the pitching side of things, is that Schwarber, Realmuto, hitless, and the pitchers just doing a really good job, not only keeping the hitters off balance, but also having them chase out of the zone unnecessarily.
Yeah, and not only that, this is a team. They're so reliant on their big hitters. Your Trey Turner, your Schwarber, your Harper, and then I guess to a lesser degree, JT Realmuto and Nick Castellanos. Nick Castellanos and Alec Bohm behind them. They're a fairly shallow lineup. I mean, while obviously Realmuto, Bohm, and Castellanos are solid players, Bader's having himself a solid season. These aren't, world beaters. These aren't guys that you would put in the upper echelon of the league. They're solid players. Ray Almuto at this point in his career, Alec Bohm has never truly lived up to his potential, and Castellanos kind of had a few good seasons and has since kind of fallen off the cliff and has not looked very good as of late over the past, let's say, season or so. So this is a team if you can shut down, just you don't even have to shut down all three of them. If you can shut down two of them, one of them, you're ahead of the eight ball. And then if you can go ahead and shut down, both Turner and Schwarber. Harper did have himself 5 hits this series, but no big hits, no home runs. I think they were all singles, if I'm not mistaken. So you can go and keep, your 3 biggest hitters to nothing more than a single, nothing more than singles. You're in a good position. I think Turner did have the triple in the first game, but we won't go too in depth there. But they're limiting damage against the best hitters, which is something that you need to do to win baseball games. That's what the Mets did this series. This is it's going to be true for any team. Some teams it's going to be easier than others. I think the Phillies are, like I said, shallow outside of those 3 hitters. So once you shut them down, it becomes easier. Some teams like the Dodgers tend to have a little bit of a deeper lineup. Once you shut down those big guys, your Freddie Freemans, your Shoheis, it gets to be a little bit more difficult. So you still got pesky hitters down below them. But all in all, a good series. The Mets executed basically on every front. I mean, outside of the one shaky inning by Ryan Helsley, the Mets were able to pretty much dominate the Phillies through and through. The game one, once the fifth inning came around, the Mets were in complete control. Last night, I believe it was the fourth inning or the fifth inning again, they took control of that game, gave it up briefly, and then Diaz came in, stopped the bleeding, shut the Phillies down, and then the Mets walked it off in the ninth. And tonight, wire to wire, complete domination, led by Mr. Nolan McLean himself.
That's going to be an interesting conversation. First of all, two interesting conversations that we will not get into, or we can spend another hour talking about it, is this eighth inning situation. The eighth inning situation of what the Mets are going to do with Helsley and how to get him back on track, or they're just going to, I guess, relegate him down in the bullpen to a lesser leverage situation. Just hope he figures it out. But also with Edwin Diaz, who was the savior from the bullpen last night, are they going to give him the bag this offseason? That man is opting out of this contract, and the Mets are going to have to decide whether to pay him premier dollars again or not under a different regime now with David Stern. So that's a whole can of worms that I don't really want to open right now. And I know I just kind of teased it, but that's something that we're going to be on a watch out for. And maybe Edwin Diaz is feeling a little bit nice. Maybe he's feeling like a team player.
A little homer. A little home friendly contract. Or you can defer it a bit before the CBA takes effect. You can defer that money.
Take a note from the New York Knicks.
Yeah, exactly. What Mikal Bridges, or no, Jalen Brunson.
Mikal, all of them are taking pay.
Yeah, Mikal's there. But no, one thing I did want to bring up, you just brought it up about Helsley. I did see out there that he was tipping pitches. So oddly enough, I'll try to demonstrate, or I'll just explain it because it's gonna throw me off here trying to look at myself. But with his glove hand, he was apparently flaring out I think it was his pinky on the glove hand when he was throwing the slider, and he had his glove more tightly wrapped up around the ball with the fastball. I'm going to try to find that tweet and send it to you, Chris. And
I did see it. I did see it too.
Mm-hmm. So I know a lot of people are out there, poo-pooing it, like, oh, teams aren't picking up on that. 100% teams are picking up on that. If you think they're not, we have analytics for everything. That's been picked up and passed around the league. And if you think maybe, oh, why aren't the Mets doing anything? They're trying to. This is someone that's probably just unconsciously doing it. And it's going to be something that they're going to have to work with Helsley to fix. Because if that is as bad as it is, if that's the reason for all this, and he can right that ship, because I think that we can all agree the stuff is there. I mean, you throw 100 and you top it 102, you got good stuff. His slider can be wicked. He's got an insane fastball. This is someone who can be a dominant pitcher. If you can limit, or you can fix this tipping issue, you can essentially solve your issue right there with the eighth inning. But it's going to be easier said than done.
I hope that also fixes him not falling off the mound and throwing strikes in the zone, because that's something that he also gets himself into trouble with. And
he falls to the first base side way too aggressively.
It's ridiculous. I mean, I don't know. That's a problem within itself.
It's very hard to repeat a delivery like that. This is someone who's essentially taking all their momentum away from the plate when you're trying to drive the baseball through your catcher, and it's tough to do that. I think when you do that, you might think that you're going to tug on the ball and rip it to the opposite batter's box, but it's kind of the opposite. Sliders are kind of just going to leave very flat, and fastballs, like you'll see, he's going to miss a lot arm side because he's falling away.
But as it pertains to tipping pitches, also, I'm not sure which of the Phillies were doing so, maybe, or even in consideration of doing so, maybe this series, because I didn't really hear about it. But Bryce Harper went out there in a postgame and said the Mets are probably the best team that he knows of in terms of picking up any pitchers tipping pitches. Like, they are known for doing that. And the Mets dugout is watching very closely. And they were going on their iPads, replaying everything they need to replay. I know people who, I guess, like the old school baseball fans don't like the iPads in the dugout, whatever, but they do serve a purpose at times. And maybe if it wasn't for the iPads, maybe Pete Alonso never hits that home run against Devin Williams. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. We don't know.
We'll never
So listen, that's gonna do it for the post game show. What an electric series sweep for our New York Mets against the Phillies. It's
We
now
blew up
time to go watch some Phillies podcasts and just hear the
that.
complaining and the
Okay.
misery. It's our time to hear that. So, as always, I appreciate you all in the live chat. I appreciate you all hitting those thumbs up, hopefully, as well. If you haven't done so to end this stream, make sure you do so. We definitely appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel, whether you're watching this on replay or live right now and you haven't subscribed yet, and follow Zach on social media. I appreciate you, Zach, as well. We are back
Thank
at
you,
it once
Chris.
more again. And we'll be back at it all weekend long. But tomorrow, a fresh series kicks in. And as soon as tomorrow arrives, yesterday goes out the window because the Marlins are the focus and the Phillies are a thing of the past until they meet again. So appreciate it. As always, let's go Mets. See you all tomorrow.
Thanks, everyone. Let's go Mets.